Welcome to another edition of Talking Germany, the show where we do just that. And my guest today is one of the outstanding figures in German cinema, and she is the prolific and popular film producer, Regina Ziegler. Here she is right now. Thank you very much for joining us on Talking Germany today. I know you're very busy because there's the Berlin Film Festival happening all around us. Now, Regina Ziegler has been producing movies for the big screen and for TV for not much short of 4 decades, being involved in that time in somewhere around 450 films. She's been honoured with a retrospective at New York's Museum of Modern Art, and when she got a special prize from the American Film Foundation, she was praised as a producer with the guts to make films that must be made. So I'm sure that we can look forward to talking to her about the following topics. Art and entertainment, then we'll just go it alone. Those were the words that Regina Ziegler used when she began her long and defiant career in producing movies. Traditional and contemporary, the legendary Babelsberg Film Studio has provided a backdrop for movie-making history and cutting-edge present-day productions. Weird and wonderful, almost cinematically strange and scary. The Brothers Grimm apparently watered down the stories they collected, but kids are still fascinated. Regina Ziegler, I mentioned that you've taken a break to come to the studio today to speak to us from the Berlin Film Festival. Tell me this, is the Berlin Film Festival for you business or pleasure?
The Berlin Film Festival is, of course, a tremendous amount of work. It's doubly tough because I also have to run my office and keep my eye on the shooting of 2 films here in Berlin at the same time. The festival requires a lot of energy and time, but I enjoy it.
OK, and the Berlin Film Festival is, above all, it's a place where the international film industry comes to Germany. How interested is the world out there in German filmmaking?
The international film world wants co-productions, and that's very important because money is getting harder to come by everywhere. And that's why we try to get together to make films. My last feature film, Henri IV, was a German, Austrian, Czech, French co-production, and Spain was also involved. The Berlin Festival is great in that respect because producers from all over the world are there, and you can arrange to meet in advance. There's also a project exchange and a film market, so you can really get a lot of work done at the festival.
OK, and you have the film festival now, the one that's taking place currently. What are the buzzwords to describe what is happening at this Berlin Film Festival?
First, there are the films I don't always get to see because I simply don't have the time. Stars like Madonna just put in a 3-minute appearance at the film market. But you do meet a lot of people. You go to the official receptions, where you meet up with a lot of people you haven't seen in years. And the Berlin Film Festival is, for a producer from Berlin or elsewhere in Germany, very profitable, because it saves a lot of travel expenses.
Regina Ziegler, let's go right back to your very, very early days and your fascination with cinema. I know your mother was a journalist, and part of her job at that time was to review movies at the local cinema. And she used to take the young Regina down to the local movie theatre. What can you remember from those very first encounters with the silver screen?
I saw films like Nights When the Devil Came with Mario Adorf. He was really young and good-looking then. I was 12 or 13 years old, and you had to be 16 to see the movie. I walked into the cinema beside my mother on the tips of my toes. I saw all the great films we now regard as classics, or cult films like Dr. Zhivago. Cinema was important to me back then because there wasn't much TV. We already had a TV set, but there was only one channel. Cinema was always a different world into which I could immerse myself and really get involved in. And although I began to study law, film always influenced my life a great deal. I dreamt about those films a lot. I often fantasized about playing the main roles. They really interested me.
OK, that's wonderful early memories. Let's talk about another memory. Your first movie, the first movie that you produced, came out in 1973, yes, here in Germany. Can you remember the moment when that movie went up on the screen and you saw it? This is my movie, the first one.
Das war in Mannheim.
It was at the festival in Mannheim. The film hadn't been accepted for competition, so I organized a special screening. I invited a lot of people I didn't know. I was new to the business. I'd worked in television, but cinema involves totally different people. So I kept asking people, who's important? I spent 8 hours writing personal invitations. We couldn't afford to have invitations printed. And then during the night, I had a nightmare. I dreamt the film was out of sync. But that couldn't really happen because it had a magnetic soundtrack. Nevertheless, when I went to the cinema, I handed the projectionist 20 marks and said, "Please show me the film. I'm the producer, and I think it's out of sync." So just to reassure me, he did. Then a lot of people came. The cinema was sold out. I sat in a corner and was really nervous. I thought something's about to happen. Then the credits came up and it was totally silent in the cinema. And then everyone started to clap. I remember I burst out laughing. I was really happy. Then at 2:30 in the morning, I said to Wolfgram, "This is the best day of my life." And it really was.
Wonderful. Yeah. Lovely. So we've had a very early memory from you. We've had the happiest day of your life. We're going to come right through to the present day now, or more or less the present day, because one of the best things that has happened, in my opinion, and according to many critics here in Germany, on German TV in recent years, was produced by Regina Ziegler. It's called the Weissensee Saga. It takes place in the former East Germany, and it's been so successful that it's going to get a special showing at the Museum of Modern Art in New York in April. Well, Regina, congratulations getting the special showing there at the Museum of Modern Art. We had one of the stars of Weissensee, Anna Loos, here on the show not too long ago. She was a wonderful guest, and she was really happy to be involved in that project. Now, when I think about that project, I think there's one word that comes to mind to describe it, and that word is daring. Is that how you see it?
Es war sehr gewagt und sehr mutig.
It was very brave of ARD Television to agree to this production, because we had no past experience of TV series that were set in the 1980s in the former East Germany. But I was really pleased we managed to do it. I had already taken the financial risk of developing the series together with the author Annette Hess.
Let me interrupt just in a second, because this fascinates me. Everybody living here in Germany knows just what different worlds West Germany and East Germany were. And you've mentioned the woman who wrote the script, Annette Hess. She actually came from the West.
Yeah.
But she created a totally authentic world in the East. How did that happen?
That's
what makes this author so brilliant. I had previously worked on other projects with Annette Hess. She also wrote Checkpoint Charlie, which had really great reviews. Annette Hess is an author who does very careful research. She's extremely professional. She's someone who asks other people for advice and listens to them. And at the beginning, the actors who had lived in the former East Germany all thought Annette Hess had lived there too.
What people here in Germany call an Aussie, but she wasn't. She was a Wessie. Yeah,
yes, but
it's not really PC to say Aussie.
I know. We've talked about it very often on Talking Germany. We've gone there, yeah? OK, we're talking about a really good example of what's been happening on German TV, German filmmaking, your Weissensee. Just before the Berlin Film Festival started, one of the major German weekend newspapers had a major article about how good German filmmaking is at the moment. And what they said, they asked the question, they said, why are there so many talented and accomplished people in German filmmaking and so few good German movies?
The good old German film, it's a matter of opinion.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah. But it's a big question. It's a serious question.
There
are more good German films than some critics or journalists like to think. I think German film is as good or as bad as it really is. Some years we see better films, and then there are years when the films aren't so good. When Fassbinder died, people said there won't be any more good German films in the next decade. But now we have directors who make those good films again. And we have a boom now in Till Schweiger comedies. When he started out 4 years ago, they all had their doubts. Today he's a major star here in Germany. I think you always have to look at German films as a whole, and not just what is going on at any one specific time. You need time to work on developing talent, and talented people need to be prepared to take risks. I think you also need the producers who accompany them. And I think it's very important to believe in good quality, and then you'll get it.
Regina, what's your relationship with Babelsberg?
I already produced at Babelsberg back in the 70s, when it was still in communist East Germany. The film was called Heinrich, and it was well received both in West and East Germany. It was very difficult to get permission to film in East Germany. You had to apply to the State Film Organization. But Babelsberg had large studios, and West Berlin only had small TV studios. We needed a large studio, and we managed to get the permits.
I had forgotten, but there's a story about you at this time. It must have been at this time where you're travelling backwards and forwards, trying to get a film produced. And the Jaguar Story?
No, the Jaguar Story.
No, the Jaguar Story is a different one. I drove a VW to Babelsberg. That's the only car I had at the time. I was never a wealthy producer, and sadly, I've never become one. A film official had given me a script of an East German film called Scenes of Fire because they wanted me to go on location for them for 10 days in West Germany's Ruhr Valley, which I did. Anyway, I had the script on the passenger seat, and at the border, they asked me what it was. And I said, it's a film script. Then they wanted to see the official documents for it, and I said, I don't have any. The director gave it to me. Then they asked me who I was, and I said, I'm a film producer. Then they fell down laughing and said, a film producer doesn't drive a VW. They kept me waiting at the border for 2 hours until I could find someone to vouch for me.
Nice story. Yes or no? Give me a yes or no. Do you like horror films?
Horror films aren't my cup of tea.
Vampire films? Vampire films?
Vampire films? Ask my daughter. She's making one next summer.
I got you. OK. The reason I'm asking is because we're going to be talking about films that remind me of... stories that remind me of vampire films, horror films, a wee little bit. Movies are, of course, all about stories, and the ones I'm talking about, some of the most powerful stories ever told, were those collected right here in Germany in the first half of the 19th century by Jakob and Wilhelm Grimm, better known, of course, as the Brothers Grimm. Now, you have to say that the stories are pretty disturbing, despite the fact that apparently the two brothers worked very hard to tone them down. What we learn is that the Brothers Grimm tried to water down their stories a little. I find them creepy. Do you find them creepy?
Well, I think they're great.
Toll.
Yeah. I have a proposal for you. Yeah, perhaps we could do a little bit of business here. You take your production company down to the Babelsberg Film Studios. You get Roman Polanski involved, and you do Little Red Riding Hood.
If you can set it up for me, it's a deal.
It's a good combination, I think.
It's a deal, yeah.
It's a deal. Good. So who's going to phone Roman Polanski? I've got to phone him. Do you have his number?
No problem. I'll get it.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good project. Tell me this. I'm still not happy with this thing about German cinema. Yeah, in the report that we had right at the beginning of the show, we had you, aged, I don't know what, probably under 30, saying, I am not going to make any mediocre films. Yeah. But mediocre films do get made a lot in Germany. I want you to answer that question. It's important.
First of all, that's our bread and butter. It's what you have to do to keep a company going. We have 40 members of staff. 35 of them are women, I'd like to add. And their salaries have to be paid every month. You can't just produce highlights. So you do the things a TV station is willing to pay $1.5 million for. And they're good stories that you can tell well. But they're also something people want to see during prime time on a Friday or Monday or on a Wednesday evening. You have to make those films, so you can afford to make more sophisticated films.
Okay. One final question which interests me an awful lot is that I read somewhere you were described as a pioneering female filmmaker in what is a male-dominated world. Give me 3 words to describe you that make you the person who can get into this man's world.
I always say there's no risk involved in swimming among sharks because you're a small shark yourself, and sharks don't eat each other.
Aha. So you're a bit of a shark. You've outed yourself as a shark.
I think you have to be determined. Where there's a will, there's a way.
And the last one? 10 seconds?
Believe in yourself.
Good one. OK. We've got to move quickly to the quick quiz at the end of the show, yeah? Quick questions, quick answers. Film or TV?
Film.
We're running out of time. 2 questions. Films should change people's lives or films should help them to escape from their lives?
Films should do both. It should inspire you to change your life. But it should also offer the opportunity we need to escape from everyday life.
And that's where we're going to leave it. She's been a great guest, yeah? Regina Ziegler. I've really enjoyed her company. If you've enjoyed it as much as I have, do come back next week. Cheers.
Cheers.